the following things. So one is like you need to get a requirement from a person. So once you get a requirement, so what is going to happen is from there, a team would start working on it. That could be for estimation. It could be a project management team, or it could be a delivery team, or it could be a technology department. So who's going to work on the estimate for the project? So once that is done, so it goes to the client negotiation and all those things are done and the project is getting closed. So now, once the project got closed, right? So what happens is we are going to start up with kick off with a project. So the initial phase before kicking off the project, so we would be gathering the requirements and all those stuff. So now we are just getting into a project. So before this, right? So there are several ways of development. So one is design. First comes up with design, then development, and then you test it, and then you launch it. So that is how the whole process works. Now, when we are doing it, so what happens is, so now we also need to know that few of the cases, right? So what happens is you cannot do a project without making a plan, right? So to make a plan, we have to start with something on design, right? In design, there are two ways of methods, I think. One is UI and another is UX. The UI represent user interface and then UX represent user experience. So today what we are going to see is a methodology which we are using at Ventos where and young entrepreneur wants to start his business or anything, right? So how do we help him out and like scrutinizing his funding and then like raise a bigger size fund by showing a prototype? That could be a minimum viable product, which we could help the customer to build and give it to him. So this pitch, which we call as an elevator pitch, because whenever you go and meet an investor, or maybe you want to get funding, or maybe like you want to start a business and you want to explain it to your friends, what happens is that you need to give your pitch in 1 or 2 lines, right? So to get that, it is not going to be easier, right? So when you go and say your friend, hey, this is what my idea and this is what I'm trying to do, so it would not give him a clear picture until he has something to test or see or like maybe to have the tangible feeling with it. So what we have done to so we started up with this engagement called elevator pitch. So elevator pitch is very simple. If a business owner wants to propose his ideas or maybe like take his initiative on his ideas towards the investors or maybe like towards the angel India investors or syndicates, they could use this methodology to raise funds. So this first step of this is right. So it is going to cost them around like 5,000 USD, and this engagement would be for more than like 4 to 5 weeks of time to complete the whole process. So what are we going to do? Okay, so here we call it as an user experience engagement, which we are going to start up with. So before starting up, what happens in the step one is like for an example, we feel that okay, there is a customer who comes into our organization and he gave a requirement. So now we are going to build a product for him. So we have given him a price, we have given him a structure and everything. So now we are going to start up with the first step. So I hope like everyone will make sure that you take notes because like it is going to be helpful for most of the pitches which we are going to do for the startup customers. So step one, what we are going to do is like we are going to understand what exactly the customer is looking out for. So we need to understand what are the things that he's looking out for and what is the project is all about. So we also need to do a homework and understanding like what exactly the customer is going to take up. So when we are starting off the project, so there are two steps which you are going to do. So one is project kickoff and another one is like questionnaires round. Okay, so when we are doing this most of the in our team, so we would be doing that because everyone are from sales, so you would be knowing that before kicking off anything, right? So we'll have an introductory call with the customer to understand what he is in need of, and then like once we understand what he is looking out for, so we just move towards the question and answers, and then we start up the process. The same kind of thing. So when we start up with kickoff, what happens is that we will have a several set of questions which needs to be asked to the customer before starting off any of the project. For an example, if a customer wants to build an application similar to Uber, right? So now it's going to be a tough situation because like everyone wants to become an Uber, but it's not going to be feasible because the business model would be changing or there would be a various set of things which can happen, right? So we need to understand with the customer, we need to talk with them like, hey, who are your target audience? Like, who are your competitors? And which market are you focusing? See, even there are a lot of things to be considered. One is like each and every perspective or the audience, right? It's not going to be the same. It could differ from country, or it could differ from culture, or it could differ from caste, or it could differ from community, or it could differ from genders, or it could differ from the age group. So we need to understand what exactly the customer is looking out for and what age group is he planning to reach, or maybe like which region is he planning to reach, or which gender is he targeting on. So once we understand all these questions, so we are going to have a meeting with the customer and understand, okay, why he wants to do this campaigns and all those things. We understand it and we finish the meeting from there. So after that meeting, we come up with a small set of questions that is going to be a preliminary research. So now our customer has said, I want to build an application like Uber, and now we need to
Prem
understand
sir,
what exactly the customer needs. Right? And now we need to understand what are the things we need.
Prem, sorry, can
Yes,
you
I'm
share your
sorry.
screen?
Yes, are you unable to view my screen?
Screen is unable to see it.
Okay.
Cannot.
See, if someone logs in, right, so do not share your screens because like it's getting stopped. Okay. So where did it get stopped, right? So it got stopped near step one or step two? Was
That is the screen.
Kickoff meeting.
Here it's the
okay. So here, see, any of your teammates complain that like we have not uh, accepted the invites, like say them that we are in the middle of the meeting, or maybe like, okay. Hey, Pragnish, are you able to view the screen or still facing the trouble? The other guys can watch my screen, right? Hey, don't.
Yeah, we can see.
Okay. Uh, so So after this kickoff meeting and all those things, right? So now we need to understand what exactly the customer needs, right? So customer has given us a brief introduction and what he wants and what he wants to achieve and all those things. Being an innovation firm, what we do differently is, so we go to the customers and understand what exactly their competitors are doing, what kind of market is it, and like how could we help our customers in building up their brand inside the market. So those many things are there. So we for 7 days, what we are going to do is like we are going to set up interviews with customers who are using the competitors app. It could be or the competitor business, or maybe like if a person who's into entrepreneurship, or maybe it could be a person who is a common person who's on the streets. So in a several ways of things which we are going to schedule an interview. So one, it could be through phone call, it could be through email, or it could be through any of the way of communication. So we are going to understand what exactly the customers are looking out for and how better we are going to build. So now once we finish this, we are going to enter into the competitor research, because competitor will we need to understand like what kind of mode they are, how they're going and all those things. The next one, we will be engaging with them on the design perspective to show things like how it is going to work, and then we are going to schedule a task on the project. So after we make a clear blueprint. See, because here is a simple like user journey. So once we got the idea, right? So now we are going to ask a set of questions towards Jayant, or maybe with Burgers, or maybe with Akshay, or maybe with Jyoti Sana. So we're going to ask them, hey, why did you like Uber? Why don't you like? What was the feature you did not like? And what is the advantage you think? What is the disadvantage you think? So we'll ask a set of questions and then we will fill up these answers. So once we fill up these answers, so we will have a clear picture how the our app should look, or maybe how our business idea should look, and how we need to take it out to the market. So now we get strategy like, okay, this is one of the things the other person is doing. This is where the flops were there. This is where the hits were there. Okay, let's try to build it in a different way. So now, once we have the journey, so now what we're going to do is that we're going to have a thorough drive on the customer, right? So what exactly he is looking out for. So now what we are going to do is like we are going to understand the user's problem, what they have said. That is going to be one, and the second one is going to be the customer's things, right? So we are going to understand like how much the customer has got funding, or maybe like if the customer is spending something on technology, or maybe on like kindly share me the presentation. Hey Pragdish, are you not able to view my screen? Hey Naresh, like please turn off
Hello.
your video. See, because like when people join in between, right, you don't share your screen or like turn on your videos, so there will be a cut. Okay. So now is it able to, you are able to view it, Pragdish?
No, not yet.
I think you're on your phone device. Okay, Pragdish, I think like you're on your phone, right?
Hello. I'm hello.
Okay, so other people are able
I
to
logged in
view my
through
screen, right?
laptop, but not using phone. Yeah.
Not sure. Hey, anyone else is unable to view my screen? Joseph, Jayant, Manoj,
Yeah, I can view.
Galia.
I can view.
I can see your
I
screen
can
also.
see your screen, Prem.
Okay, perfect. Okay, let me move on with it. Like, let me mute other people. So now we need to understand on the competitor research. So we are going to do a deep dive into it, and we're going to understand what is the advantage with the competitor's product and the disadvantage of us. And also we are going to compare what advantages we guys could give, what would be our disadvantage. See, in most of the startup cases, what is going to happen is like the fund is going to be the major issue, and the second one is like how they're going to focus on their branding strategy, right? So that's also going to be a second factor. And the third factor is like without having a budget itself, right? They want to build something bigger in size, which they have never even expected in their life. So because they do not want to spend on a small module or anything like that. So that these kind of things, so we help them out in like understanding those things, and then later once we understood these things, we are going to see how can we solve these problems. That's where Pentos becomes an innovation firm, when we identify a solution for them and give them a proper business strategy, right? So when there is a problem, we help them out in solving it. When people say it is not possible, we say it is nothing is impossible in this world. Okay, so we make things different than others. Okay, so that's how it is. So next, once we identify all those gray areas like their weaknesses, their strengths, and all those things, so we submit it towards the customer, stating that hey, this is how it is, this is how we need to build it, and these are the hit factors, these are the non-hit factors, this is how we could success in the business, this is how we cannot get successful in the business. So once we have explained all these things, right? So what happens is that we just get in
So the
a
screen
phase.
has gone again.
Yeah, cannot see your screen.
Someone is sharing the presentation, the new joiners. Who's sharing? I'm not sure. I'm just resuming the presentation.
It's a guy called Shebin or something. You check Shebin when he comes up. Normally, he's sharing his video.
Okay, I'll just fix it up. Okay. So the next, right? So when we get into prototyping, right? So here, what we do is like this is a module where you call it as your blueprint of your home, right? So when For an example, you want to build a home, right? So if you don't have a plan where to put your electrical wires, or where to put your pipelines, or where to put your the other things, right? So your pillars or any of the activities, right? If you don't have a plan, that means it's not going to be like a house, right? So it's going to be something else, right? So that's why people, before doing a construction or anything, you would have a blueprint available with you. So that's how it is going to be. Now we know what we needed. So, but to have what we needed, we need to have a clear plan. So for this clear plan, what we are going to do is like we are going to plan, that is going to be a blueprint for building up this product, or maybe the next upcoming innovative idea. Okay, so now what we do is like we start from sketching, we prototype, we test it, and we create a screen flow. How we are going to do is like sketching is nothing but it could be with a pen and paper we could try out with, or it could be with available tools which are there in the market. So we'll be using few tools. So sketching tools, I will be teaching you up in the next upcoming meeting, where I'll say you like each tool how it is going to work and how we could help them out in like getting the prototype done. Okay, so now let's start with pen and paper. So we started sketching up the how the app should look, how the flow should be, or how the software should work, and kind of thing. So once we have done the sketching, so what we do is like now we try to do a simple wireframe. So there are a lot of prototyping tools which are there in the market, like InVision, or maybe like there are several tools over there. So I'll show you those tools also in the next upcoming meetings, like how these tools are helping out the customers to identify the prototypes, right? So these are the things. What we are going to do is now we have aligned up the frames. So now we are going to show like from A to B how it is moving, A to C how it is moving. So all those screen flows and all those things, we are making a wireframe now. So after making a wireframe, what we are going to do is like we are going to give you to test, right? So you need to say, checking it out and say like, okay, hey, I did not like the button on the bottom, I need it on the top, or maybe on the left side or on the right side, or maybe like you want to change the flow itself, or you want to have an initial screen with a tutor, and you does not want to have a tutor in the initial start. After they log into the home screen, you want to keep a Twitter, or any kind of activities, right? So you say yes, we do it again and again. So that's how it is going to be the process. So once after we do a several process, right? So maybe of a week time we do this engagement again and again and again and again, and then you say I am satisfied with the app flow, right? That's where your blueprint is ready. So once you have your blueprint, so what happens is that next we are going into the flow, right? So when we say on the flow, what happens is that we are going to see do a repeated testing, right? So it is not going to be with one person who's going to use an app. So we need to check with several. So one is with age, and the next one is going to be with gender, and the next one is going to be so the next one is going to be with sex, or maybe like it could be with um, um, you could say with culture, or it could be with caste, or it could be with community, or it could be with a different kind of games, right? So each country has a different way of doing things. So we check with all the people like what exactly they're looking out for, what are the flaws, what are the things needs to be done, and one gives a feedback, we come and implement it again, and then we get back into the market and like we check each and every time. So that's where like we do. One is like collecting of best practices, is like to check how the competitor has made simple in the market and how he's able to acquire the things, right? So that is one. The second one is the once we do all these things, right? So we are going to observe the things. The look and feel plays a major role in everything. So we need to see like, okay, so you could call the design as a dress for the app, or maybe for us, right? So when we wear a dress, we need to check like whether how the look is there, how the feel is, whether the people are getting traction towards it, people are not getting traction towards it, what is the reason? Maybe it did not suit, maybe like for fewer example, right? So one could be color, or it could be shape, or it could be font, or it could be icons, or it could be some other reasons, right? So understanding these kind of things, we make sure that the look and feel is coming good. So next one is we are just getting more deeper in the sense to understand how we could make this design in more clearistic, or maybe this prototype sketching, right? So we use Photoshop, Sketch, Adobe XD, also so many tools which are coming up in the market. So we are using these tools and we are understanding up how the design is going to look and how the flow is going to be and how clearly we are going to do it on each devices. Okay. So for an example, now what happens in today's market is there are like Android devices, or maybe you call like smart TVs. So, or you call your laptops or any kind of things, right? So your desktops or any of the things. Each one has a different size and each one has a different shape and each one has their monitor in different. Few has LED, few have LCD, so few have different varieties, right? So now we need to make sure it all fits together. So in web we check like how responsive it's going to be. On mobile we are going to see like how it's going to look on each and every devices. So that's how it's going to be. The next, after creating all these things, what is going to happen is like we are going to get more specifically, we are going to use like using UI kits. We are going to do this repeated process and understand like how the app is going to look. So we are going to use like agile methodology, agile scrum methodology to build this engagement. So next fifth one is right. Say it is not about just building a product. Now what we need to do is like we should not after building it, right? So you should not say, okay, it's built, let's throw it off. It's not like that. So it is like rigorous of testing, right? So the best practices comes is like, see, when think in software or maybe the vehicle which you're purchasing, it if you have that feeling like it's your baby or something, right? You give your full effort in understanding what exactly your baby is needed. So each time, right? So as you think like now the baby which we are developing, it's going to be the baby in the womb of the mom. So once we give the birth to the baby, so now the baby is on the parent's hand. That's going to be the client. So now client is going to use this applications. So now he needs to understand what exactly their baby needs, right? So now he needs to plan which school he needs to join, or like which college he wants to join, or like which kind of medium he wants to put his son or daughter into it, and then like what kind of dresses are going to suit them up, what kind of environment it's going to play. So all these things he needs to be repeatedly steady, right? So that's where he needs to come up with some of the other things, right? So once he knows that okay, baby is 1 year old, he needs to buy a lot of dresses now. So that means like he needs to add images or you need to change the design or some of the other process needs to be upgraded. So each and every year, right? So one or the other. So every day there is an upgradation happening. So he needs to be updated on the software process itself. So the next one is in the simple words, every second, every day, or every minute, or every week, every month, every quarter, every year, right? So something or the other is happening in the software industry, or it could be upgradation, or it could be decline mode, or it could be like the different kind of acquisitions or mergers are happening between the companies, and there is a huge things are happening up in the software development. And small kid who comes up with a new idea and he launches an software over there. So to keep ourselves upgraded, we need to think the software as a baby, and we need to give a full more effect in understanding what our baby is doing and how we need to enhance and grow the baby. So that's how it's going to be the whole engagement process.
Hi, Prem Yogan. Um, Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a question over here. So, what is our target audience? Like,
You
what
right.
kind of
So
business
Komal, like
it is?
just give me some time. Let's get connected
Okay.
offline. Okay. You're confusing
Sure.
between the both the process.
Okay.
So this is called like UX engagement. So this is how it's going to work. So any questions on the design engagement, right? So in design engagement, we saw today on user experience, right? So any questions on the user experience? So this is going to be for everything. It's going to be the same for software development, or it could be an implementing a business idea. So any of the things we could use all these methodologies, which could help them out in getting up a successful business model in the market. So any questions? So is it clear? The UX engagement is clear or like half clear?
How long is the UAT usually take place, Prem?
It usually takes like 4 to 5 weeks of time.
Okay.
It's going to be a set of teams. So one is going to be an R&D team, and they would be doing work in space of research and development. And the next one is going to be a design team who's going to help them out in like creating the screen flows and getting up the product prototype done for them. Or it could be a presentation, B2B business plan, or any kind of thing. So we help them out in like 4 to 5 weeks of time to get these things clearly done. Okay, so these are the things which comes in UX and in UI. Tomorrow we'll see like what are the tools we are using up and how it helps out in building up the things. So tomorrow we will be focusing more in space of UI and then like so I think like we could start it.